Hello everyone, my name's Suzanne and I am a gardening and cut flower enthusiast living in Devon in the UK. And on my channel you can expect to see videos about gardening, growing cut flowers and floral projects as well, making bouquets, bunches and doing some flower arrangements and little projects like that too. This week we're going to be looking a little bit about plant staking because I'm going to do things ever so slightly differently again this year. It's one of those things with gardening, you tend to develop the way you stake year on year. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and tell you all the reasons why I'm changing the way I stake and why I didn't like the way I've done it previously. So let's go on out to the garden and have a look at some of the ways we're going to stake the plants this year. Particularly the dahlias I'm going to be staking differently. Anyway, let's get outside while it's not raining and go and see what we can do. So in the past, I have used horizontal netting, which if you do your online research or in any of your cut flower books, that will be a recommended way to grow cut flowers. So I've done that first of all, I used that sort of pea netting, which is this horrible plasticky stuff. And I did this horizontal netting and I absolutely hated it. I kept getting it tangled and I don't know if I put it at the wrong height, but I couldn't get the tension right. And then I accidentally cut it a few times when I was cutting flowers. And I found it awkward to cut the flowers because the squares are so small. And I think that squashed some of the plants a bit. So I decided very quickly on that I didn't like the horizontal netting. So then I started just using a granny's knitting pattern with jute twine. And I just would do lots of zigzags from posts and crosses. And that worked really, really well. And I really liked that, except for the jute twine wouldn't last the season. So if it got really wet, it would snap or even sag and go loose, and it just wasn't giving the plants the right support. So what I've got instead is actually electric fence cable. So this has got wire in it. And I've got this because I can use it year after year after year after year. It's very durable because it's designed for being outside. Although I hope we don't have lots of lightning storms. I don't know, maybe this isn't such a good idea. But it's because it's got the wire in it, it's got really good tension. And this is my first year using it, so this might not work. I just needed an alternative to the jute, but I also wanted something that was really thin. I didn't want something that was too thick to use. So anyway, what we'll do, we'll go out in the garden now and I'll show you a bed that I've sort of had a go at a granny's knitting pattern. And then I'll actually do a bed as well, so you can see how I do it. And then we'll have a look at how I'm going to stake the dahlias, because I'm definitely going to do the dahlias completely differently. Right, let's go outside. It really is a good idea to think about staking your plants fairly early, because once they get to any reasonable size, you've really left it a little bit too late. So some of my biennials really needed doing because they're just starting to put on the height. So that's the Sweet Rocket and Dianthus. And again, some of the perennials, the Aquilegia and things like that. So we'll have a look at those first. And that's where I've started. I always try and work in a logical order. So I've started with the biennials and the perennials, and the annuals will be left till last. So let's have a look at what I've done so far. So this is biennial bed that's already been staked. And then this is perennial one that's already been staked. I'll just try and walk along so you can see a bit more of how the cable crosses. Try and get the other way because of my shadow. Might be easier if my shadow's not there. So that's the crisscrossing pattern that you can see there. And this is this one here. So I've done that on 1, 2, 3 beds, then missed a bed, then I've done it on that 4th bed, and then I've missed a few beds. I'm just doing it in stages, as I say, starting with the perennials and biennials and then moving on. So this year for my dahlias, I'm going to have a go at cordoning them. So I haven't done that before. So really I'm going to need some more stakes. because I'll need another row of stakes down the middle here, and then the idea is that that row of dahlias there will have wires each side of them going horizontally along there, and then this row will have wires in front and behind them going horizontally along there. So I'm completely out of posts, so I'm going to go and get a saw and we'll just saw some batten off to use that as some posts for this. I haven't planted the dahlias yet, so this might seem a bit keen, but I just know that we're getting near to May now and I'll just want to have it at least set up. I probably will put the lowest wire on, but I won't put the ones of any height on until the dahlias start growing, so I can just keep putting, I mean really for the dahlias I'm going to end up probably using the very top wire here if they do well. Also I've done something a bit strange, and I need to water it in properly, is I've gone down the middle of this strip and put a cover crop in, because I'm sure I read somewhere that it's quite good to plant dahlias almost with like companion planting, and I've put it in the middle there because it shouldn't really get in my way, and it's supposed to help with pest and disease, but also it means there'll be something else rooting in the soil. So we'll give it a go and see. I've put buckwheat in. I know that's not a good cover crop for overwintering in the UK, but I'm pretty sure it's one that's quite good for the summer. So we'll give it a go and see. And I'm also thinking that long bed along the back there, which I said I don't need imminently, I'm thinking about sticking a cover crop in there actually, because I think the grass has all died down under the carpet there now. But anyway, that's getting on to another video another day, so let's cut these bits of wood and make some more stakes. I haven't got a huge amount of timber hanging around, so I had one piece of batten which I've chopped into 3. If I'd have been sensible, I would have measured it so all 3 are the same length, and then I could have had them a bit longer, but stupidly I just measured an electric fence post and chopped the first 2 off at that height, and then I was left with a bit extra, so that was a bit stupid, but we all live and learn. I just put a bit of point on the end because I wanted to make it a bit easier to get them in the ground. I'm hoping, because these are wooden posts, I might be able to get the tension with just one at the end and one in the middle, but I have got some old just bits of tree branch that I might be able to put point on and use them. I'll just go and get them a minute. So I've got these bits of tree branch as well, but I don't know how easy they'll be to bash in because they're really like thin and branchy on the top, but we'll put those as the middle ones. Well, we'll put 2 of the bits of batten each end, 1 in the middle, and then use these to fill in the hole. I'll just go and get a mallet. Oh, well that was quite handy. I went to get the bar to make some holes and I found these. Now these are, I would never buy these, but I was given them. I got given them by somebody who was moving house and wasn't going to have a garden anymore. These do rust really easily and you would want to take them in because they're hollow in the middle, they're not solid. But as middle poles, I've got 3 of these, they should be pretty good. So that was a good find. Let's get the wooden posts in first though, because I think they're going to give the most structure. And then we'll go from there. So I've just got my bar just to make my holes. So what's the middle? How many of these have got? 1, 2, 5, so 2.5, 1, 2. So somewhere in here will be the middle. See how stupid was that? Because I didn't measure it, I've now got one really tall one in the middle and I have really short ones each end. I do really annoy myself sometimes. Really hard to push in, I think, because you can't really bash them with any real force. So I'm just gonna have to push these in. Yeah, they're just not gonna offer that much support, I don't think, but we'll give it our best shot. Put all my body weight on it. Okay, and then I'll just choose the best of these two, I suppose. Okay, right, well, hopefully the tension of the wire will sort of keep them in place. Right, that's actually made me quite hungry and quite thirsty. It must be nearly time for lunch. Okay, so I've suddenly just thought about it, and actually the middle wires, there's no reason why I couldn't put a few heights up there, because I'll be able to plant the dahlias from the outside. And in fact, I might just not put the outside ones up at all until I've planted them. That might be because my tummy's rumbling, I don't know. But no, I think we'll just do a few lines in the middle. Right, so let's do that then. We'll start at 30 centimetres. I'm just guessing 30 centimetres, although actually I've got this silly little bit of plastic. This is a binder for an A4 sheet of paper, and this is how I've measured my spacing for my dahlias as well, because they will be spaced 30 centimetres apart. That's how I've spaced all these pots out. And the reason I did this for the pots was because I was going to be sowing the buckwheat. I didn't really want to accidentally sow any buckwheat in the exact spaces where the dahlia was going. I know odd ones might have gone through the hole, but that was the purpose of this. Right, keep getting distracted. So yeah, so we can use this to tell our 30 centimetres on the post. Right, that was a bit rubbish. I think I'll do this as a time lapse. One thing I probably will be able to do is, because the middle posts are still really tall, so I could get an extra string along the whole middle section. When I plant my varieties of dahlias out, I think I will think about it, and I will just select the shortest varieties to go just in the last metre each end, and put the taller varieties in the middle, because that way I can put another line in for the taller varieties if I need to. So I'll go in and have a look at the dahlia varieties. Knowing my luck, they'll probably all get to a similar height, but it'll be worth me having a look, I think, and thinking about that, just because I stupidly have ended up with a shorter post on the end. But we all make mistakes, and I definitely make mistakes all the time. Okay, so I'll just pick you up so you can just have an idea of what I've done. And then I'm going to go and have my lunch. Okay, so I've put no lines up along the front there, because it will definitely be easier to do that once I've planted the dahlias. So we've just done the central wire, and it's not, to be honest, the bottom one's actually probably not tight enough. I think I might have to untie that one. But hopefully it will offer some support. As I say, I've not tried this method before, so if you have and you think it's good or you hate it, let me know. I hope you all like it and don't hate it, because I might regret doing it then. But I suppose it's not too late to undo it, apart from wasting a morning's work, I suppose. So there we are. Great, lunchtime. Now, some of the things I've got planted out here are not completely frost hardy. So I'm having to be a little bit careful. But this mulch will also help with that. But it's mainly just to try and help suppress the weeds as much as I can, because I really don't like using weed fabric. I mainly use miscanthus because that doesn't change the pH of the soil. But actually this little bit I'm putting here is just some sort of chopped straw, I think. And I've basically had a little bit of this on the floor in my hay barn, where the rats had got into a bale of my chicken bedding. So I just thought I'd just take this off the floor. But yeah, miscanthus is what I've been using on the other beds. It is quite expensive, because I know you can get that stuff called squelch, which is supposed to deter slugs as well. But I think that's even more expensive. So this is a trial this year. Last year I only mulched with it when it had been used chicken bedding, and it seemed to work really well. So that's why I sort of thought it might work. I mean, ideally, if I had enough chickens, you would just do it that way, because then you'd be recycling it. So you'd be using it for the chickens first and then as a mulch. But I've only got like 10 chickens. That's not enough chickens to create enough bedding to mulch all these. I mean, it might have been if I had been storing it all up over the winter, but I've just been chucking it all on the dung heap instead, and it gets mixed in with all the sheep and goat bedding and everything in there. So I'm just carefully trying to go around the edge of the plants so as not to smother them. Right, I'll go ahead and finish this and then we'll start the staking. Okay, so the bed has all been mulched. I've got my electric fencing cable, so now we're going to do the supporting. The pigtails are already in from last year. I don't tend to take those up. I tend to keep them in place. I always think 30 centimetres is a good lowest height, and you can also add extra layers on as the plants get taller. But quite often I think that 30 centimetres is an okay height for most things, because what you don't want to happen is you don't want the base of the plant to rock in the wind. So as long as you stop the base of the plant rocking. I mean, the main problems I've had with not staking properly is things like cosmos in a wind just being completely uprooted almost. Yeah, so I always try and think about how long my hori knife is to gauge my 30 centimetres. Okay, so firstly, I've just gone all the way around the edge. Now we're going to do a bit of crisscrossing. This is why you wouldn't want your beds any wider than 1 metre as well. I can just get away with putting my foot on the bed once doing this. This is also really good if you've got pets. It sort of stops your dogs going on your beds as well. Now, you can see here I end up doubling up, but in a minute I will stretch these to take up the tension even more. So it doesn't matter you've got 2 going that way at the moment. In an ideal world, I would probably have more stakes, but I'm working with what I've got. Okay, so that's the basic idea. I'm just going to make sure these are all still the right height. So then what you can do with one or both of these straight lines on each one is tie them into the cross. If you tie them into the cross each side, it just gives a bit more tension. I think a lot of you might have better knitting pattern ideas than I've got, but this is just what I've been finding has been working for me. And this is where you can really add in as many extra bits as you like. So I quite often will add another lengthways across here. The only trouble is wherever you tie into the edge without a post, you do pull that wire away from the edge. So if you've got something planted right at the edge here, like this Achillea, it won't be supported. This Achillea isn't actually supposed to be here, but I just haven't dug it up. Right, well, I'll go on with this and show you when I finish. Okay, so finished doing that. So you can see some of the holes are quite big, like this big triangle here. And then some of the holes are a bit smaller. So, you know, it's not neat and symmetrical, but it's better than no support, and it's a bit more room than the stock fencing or the pea netting. I mean, like I said, I could just tie that one into there if I wanted to pull that a bit tighter, and I might still do that, but for now I'm going to call that a day there. So while we're doing a video about plant supports, this is how I'm supporting my sweet peas, and this is just galvanised mesh. So these are the peas that have been out for a while now, and I've got lots more to go out, but I put them out in stages to sort of work as succession. So these ones will obviously be the ones that flower first, and then I've got 2 more successions to go in after that. And I think I've already shown you this in a previous video, but I'm also a bit of a fan of just using stock wire self-supported for things that just need staking at a lower height with no posts or anything. Then I'm a bit of a fan of that. I might even do a bit more of that, but I've only got this little bed here at the moment. I want to say a big thank you to everyone who has watched my video today, but also thank you to all of you who have been watching my videos, and especially to those of you who have subscribed to my channel. So I'm really grateful for that, and it really does mean a lot. So thank you very much. That's it for today. I'll see you next week. Bye.